What's up, everybody? This is Coach MJ, and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneurial Coffee Break Combos. This is my series where I introduce you to entrepreneurs in a variety of fields so that you can learn about how your branding and your social marketing can be elevated as a small business owner, as a solopreneur, learning from other people. You don't have to always reinvent the wheel. You can always learn from others. And so today I have the first man who's ever been featured on Coffee Break Convos, and it is my high school buddy, mortgage advisor extraordinaire, Timothy Handley. Woo! The crowd goes
Hey,
wild, y'all.
thank
Today we're
you,
going to
Coach
be talking
MJ.
about, hey, Tim. What's up, Tim? Tim and I went to the great Red Devil High School, Jeffersonville High School in
Mm,
Jeffersonville, Indiana. We graduated in 91 together. But today
right.
we're going to be talking about a different aspect of entrepreneurship, which is intrapreneurship, building a standout brand within a brand. So, Tim, what have you been up to lately? Like, what happened? I think it
Oh,
was last year. How did your life change? Was it last year or year before last?
a lot of things happened. I was, in this industry. I'm a mortgage advisor. Work for Smith Brady and Associates, or Smith Brady Mortgage is what it's called. Been there for almost about 5 years, but at the time I was actually working at Ford Motor Company at the same time. So very intense in terms of kind of like, doing both things. But retired from Ford last year. And my business has really been growing. I mean, it's been growing ever since I've been, been there. But for the most part, super excited about the new opportunities and just the connections that I've been making. Um, it's just been really awesome. Yeah. So
So I heard you say Ford. So you did a whole career at Ford. How long were you at Ford?
I was 30 years.
30 years. That's
Yeah,
all.
30 years there. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
whole time we've been out of school almost.
Well, yeah, about that. Yeah. I hired there, I think, in 94.
Okay,
And,
a few years
you
after.
know,
Okay.
it was a great, can't say anything negative about that. The Ford Motor Company, great, gave me a really good foundation in terms of what it did for me and my family. And still to this day, got a lot of great friends. A lot of stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah. So at what point what led you to getting into the mortgage industry? Was it just to make some money on the side, or what led
Well,
you?
so with a funny story is, like, I actually, when I was working at Ford prior to doing being a mortgage in the mortgage world, I was actually in the marching band world, and I played the trumpet and won a
Remember
world
that?
championship with the Star of Indiana, and
Did
that
not
put me
know
on.
that. I knew you played the trumpet. I did not know you went that far with it. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, we won a world championship like right after I graduated high school. I was traveling the nation for like 3 years in the summer,
Really?
made some great friends, created some great skills.
Mhm.
And I was doing that when I was working at Ford, where I was teaching, writing shows. I was a judge, adjudicator, traveling all across the country. And I just met a lot of people. But by doing that, it was really a good foundation in terms of kind of like developing the skills that I have now. But to get back to the point of kind of how I actually came in to become a loan officer or mortgage advisor, is the loan officer, you know, buying our house, she was like, "Hey, if you ever decide to do something different, you really be good at this." So it was kind of one of those things, like right around the 2020, COVID world, whatever. I don't know if I can say it, but I thought about it, and then I made the career change from actually teaching marching bands to actually focusing on, getting my certification, and then the rest is kind of history with that. So, hmm
So it more came from so it was the house that you have now. Because it was
yeah,
just you said about 5 years. Okay, they were like,
yeah,
okay, if you're looking to do
yeah.
something different. So maybe she saw something in you that indicated you might be good in that space. So were you looking to be an entrepreneur or anything like that? Or was it just like, okay, this is another field I can work in? Like what
Well,
drew
it
you?
was it was interesting. Like, I think that the we had a good conversation about Leslie Smith, the owner of Smith
Okay.
Brady. she was my loan officer, but we had a great conversation about kind of like, hey, and she was explaining like, hey, you get to meet a lot of people, you get to do a lot of things, and the money's not bad, but uh, that being said, it was just one of those things where, okay, I can see myself doing something like this. I'm always been an advocate of kind of like teaching anyway.
Okay.
So if I learn and then I can kind of like, guide people and give them like the best solutions in terms of kind of like how to get in a home, how to refinance their, you know, allocate things with maybe even talking to like financial advisors. I want to do that. So it was just
Okay.
very interesting. And then it just took off, it really did. So.
Okay. So this term intrapreneurship, how would you describe or define that, right? Because everybody, you're here for entrepreneurial coffee break combos. We know what an entrepreneur is. We own our own business.
Right.
A lot of us are full time. What is an intrapreneur? How does that differ from an entrepreneur?
All right. So entrepreneur is basically like you, like say Smith and Brody, um, and you're an employee there. All right. So the loan officers that work there basically have their own business that they create. We don't get leads. We don't, you basically have to build your brand within the brand. So it's one of those things where you're an entrepreneur within inside a company. So that's the term entrepreneur. That's where that comes from. So it's basically I build my brand, and then it's almost like a powered by Smith Brady, but yeah, it's like Tim Handley, and then that works for Smith Brady. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that it's all set up.
So then what makes it similar to entrepreneurship? I heard you say you don't get leads. Like sometimes in sales related roles or those type of things, they give you leads. Here, you're not getting leads. So it's almost thinking about someone in that's a similar role or a similar industry, realtors. Also, I mean, they're under a broker,
Right.
but they kind of got to go out and make it happen. So how did you start when you first got your certification? I guess that's what you have to have before you can start. How did you start building I'm going to call it book of business. I don't know if that's what y'all call it, but
right. So it's just
how did you start?
It's a uniqueness. Now, don't get me wrong. You can buy leads. You can do certain things, but I'm just using like the 30 years of relationships that I built with even the marching band world. Like, I mean, every year I was in front of probably 600 new people per year, every year. And all those people are like, they were younger adults at the time, and now they're like grown people. And it's just like, and then even like with the teachers that I work with, or the, it's just like there were so many people that I was in front of. So I have like a uniqueness about it, but just because I just know so many people on Facebook or whatnot, so a lot of people know me, and so this kind of like that. It's kind of how do you influence people, or how do you, what's your range in terms of kind of who you do know, and then how you approach that. So with me, it's a little bit differentness. I mean, in terms of like the uniqueness of being able to have a bigger or wider audience that I know. So
you said 600 folk a year. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. And I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of who they know, right? Who you've met. You said 30 years since we've been out of high school. Even though every person might not become a mortgage customer, they know people, right? And so I think, and I'm going to ask you, how would you describe your brand? But a part of it is just who you've been over those years and the goodwill you've invested with all these people. You can go back to each of those people and say, this is what I'm doing. If you know, need me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think it's really, one thing about me, and I'm really fortunate to be in this position, is the fact that, I'm in a position where, I don't ever want to come across as like a salesman, I don't want to ever do that. It's just like, I want to give value, period. And then being in that position, it enables me to make those things happen like that. So I think it's like, when you're in a position that way, or when you have that avenue to have people that you do talk to, when I was in the marching band world, I had to create shows, like literally, like we had to create, we would have a concept. There was one year we had a concept of a haunted house, and we had to go through and get the music for it, put it all together, create a storyline, and create
Wow.
that.
Okay.
And having that ability to do that was one of the things where I really enjoyed that. But then
Mhm.
being able to translate what those thoughts were to those performers was a
Mhm.
great. It's something I'll never take for granted. It was just awesome because they would buy in, and
Mhm.
when you would see the vision come to life, it was just the most special thing ever.
I
So
love it.
whenever
Yeah.
I approach like working with someone who's getting a home, or
Mhm.
even like I said, even just giving guidance in what's needed today, in terms of kind of like, I'm a real positive person. Don't get me wrong, I get mad too, and it's all that. But I think in the world that we're in today, that there's definitely a need for positivity. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Is just giving people value, and try to make things as positive as possible, and looking at it from a different point of view. So yeah.
I love what you just said about you said not wanting to come across as salesy. And unfortunately, over the decades,
Hmm.
sales has gotten a bad rap, and consumer has gotten very smart, and they can spot a fake, or at least a suspected fake, a mile away. And so really authenticity is probably, I feel like it's my greatest superpower, is that who you see off cameras, who you see on camera, who you
Right,
see in
right,
on
right.
a social situation, who you're going to get when we work together. So
Hmm.
um, so you've been doing it for 5 years, and we're talking about entrepreneurship, building a brand within a brand. So we've said coming across giving value and not wanting to be salesy and being positive. Have you ever found it challenging to keep your brand kind of separate from Smith Brody, which is its own brand, right? Or do you
Right,
find that
right.
it's very much aligned, and you know one kind of balances the other?
I mean, the principles are there. I mean, it's a great company. It's actually all female owned company too. So
I
you
did
might want
not know that. Now, who is
to.
Brody? What's the person's name that's Brody?
It is
Okay,
Sonya, and then
I don't think I've ever met
Sonya and
them.
Leslie Smith.
Okay.
Um, but um, but yeah, they have great. You know, the foundation of the company. It's all about kind of like helping too.
Hmm.
So it's just on, but then like taking my element to it in terms of kind of where I want to take the my brand.
Yeah,
It's kind of still being as creative as I was, and then like I said, just having that ability to really you know make people's lives better. You know what I'm saying? In
that's
in a
great.
way of just giving them true value. So
What
yeah.
are some ways that you've been able to? Cause your face kind of lit up when you were describing back in the marching band days, and creating those situations with the music. I did not know
Mhm.
that you continued with that so much. What
Oh
are some
yeah.
ways you've been able to kind of transfer that creativity and use it as an entrepreneur in the mortgage advising space? What's some creative things you've been? I see you do content online, which I didn't know that. I guess
Yeah.
I don't
So
follow you.
so I think it's like so with the creativeness.
Mhm.
I think that like making videos. You get a lot of people like, hey, you need to put yourself out there. You need to do social. You need to talk. You need to be out there. You need to be, and that's great. Um, and there's a lot of like people that kind of follow and they do the same things that everyone else does. Like if there's a catchy song, right now it's like Kendrick,
No, if I see
anytime
Kendrick
something
Lamar one more time
comes
on my news feed, I didn't even
you
watch the
know,
Super Bowl. I feel like,
but then a lot of people kind of
yeah,
recreate that. But
yeah,
I think that, we do have all an ability to be creative. So like if you did something like that and you made it your own in a
yeah.
certain way.
Hmm.
So, whenever I get to the creative side of kind of like, producing something, I'm always thinking like, hey, one, what is the message somebody needs to hear right now? And it's not about selling a house. It's not about buying a house. It's not about whatever else. But whenever I get my creative juices going, I like to produce that the positive, those messages, and then make it so remarkable that people talk about it. Like, oh my gosh, did you
Yeah,
see that? You know, I
yeah.
teleported to. I was supposed to go to the beach, and I ended up being in the wonder world of southern Indiana. Um,
Right. The snow, more snow
right.
again.
Right. But the thing is, just being able to produce something that is, you talk about being authentic. If you can create authentic content as well, then that's another avenue to go. So I like to do that. And it's almost like a little, you know, creative, how can I put it? An avenue to where I can kind of get that off my mind, because I think, we all have things that like you said, you lit up, Tim, when you said that. I do. I enjoy being a creator. I
You need to go
enjoy.
back and do you still dabble in it a little bit? You got to keep your hands in it. I think you love it too much.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
I've been reached out to, there's some people that want me to come back on board, and who knows? I'm not gonna say never,
Do
never,
you still
never.
play ever, or do you give up your
That I
instrument?
don't. I do
You
more
don't.
the visual thing now. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm
So
making
you're
videos.
not full of hot air no more, Tim.
No, but I will get like people to move correctly and all that. I used to be on the
Yeah.
visual side once again.
Yeah. Which is a big deal. I mean, I see marching bands. I'm like, how do they get all them organized? And I'm a choir director,
Yeah.
but we don't have choreography in the choir.
Right,
I mean, there's
right.
a lot of moving part, people playing and walking. I was watching, where did I see it? I was watching the Thanksgiving Day Parade, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and just thinking about people walking down the streets. They're carrying these heavy instruments. They're marching together. And I'm just like, it's a lot, especially when you're moving down the street. So
it's a fascinating genre. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. It's very, I know we're talking about this, but I think a lot of people that are experience that, they kind of get a bad rap. Oh, you're a band nerd, all this stuff. But you learn so much when you actually do that, and if you're in a great program where disciplines involved, and then the creativeness, and everybody's buying in, and then you're working with so many different people, like literally, like each band, like even a high school band, they say they have an average of like 140 people in the band.
I'll say Jeff
It's 100
band.
Yeah, that's 140 people that you have to work together with, and you just learn a lot of skills with that. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see what happens in the future. Don't be surprised.
Don't count Tim out, he said. What I love also that you just said is, I think you said that people say band nerd and all that. People don't realize that from the time, really not even high school, it could be elementary school, you are becoming who you're going to be. And the skills that you get from being part of a lot of different extracurricular stuff transfers. And here we are in our 50s, and it's still something that's relevant. I was just looking at the scrapbook that had some of my high school stuff in, and I was posting my IDs in the JHS 1991 Facebook group. And I was looking at minority scholars programs, and I was on the honor roll, and I was on National Honor Society. I forgot about all this stuff, but being in those groups was the first networking, right? I can still at least message those people, even though we're not close friends, but they'll be like, oh yeah, we were in National Honor Society. We didn't do nothing together really back then besides that, but because we had that connection, it can mean something today. So people, as you're listening to this, be sure that you don't underestimate the value of your personal network as you are, whether you're building a brand as an entrepreneur, whether you are doing intrapreneurship. This is a great opportunity to take on facets of a business without having to do it all.
Right.
Is what I see. Like, you didn't have to become a broker. I'm sure there's extra parts to actually becoming a mortgage broker and having the company. You don't have to do all those pieces. You get to focus on the parts that you enjoy. Which is the people.
And that's the thing. It's like, you can have, be in certain positions. I do have goals. I mean, I'm not going to rule out in the future, maybe, me owning my own thing. But, taking that foundation, really truly learning the craft, and then applying things, and then getting those recommendations because you do such a good job. And you are, remarkable in what you do, to where someone's talking about, your services, then that could lead to the next stage. But
I feel like remarkable should be an acronym, at least the MARK, because you said that word a couple times. So what is describe remarkable service, or remarkable, providing something remarkable. What does that mean to you?
Well, okay. So
you need an acronym. Make up an acronym next time.
I'm just gonna basically focus on the word. I mean, I love acronyms; they're great. But then sometimes it's like so deep. You're like, oh, man,
I know. It's like what? What the K stand for again?
Let's just be remarkable. All right. So like a remarkable experience. All right. So if you have an experience like with anything, and it's terrible, you're gonna remember it. It's like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, you're gonna tell everybody about it. If
Mm-hmm.
you have an experience like, purchasing something and it's okay, I mean, it's good, you feel good about it, it feels good, but you don't really talk about it. But when you have like a remarkable experience and you're like, oh my goodness, man, this is great. I really want to tell a lot of people about how I went through, what happened. It's just, you need to check this out. You need to check that out. You get
Mm-hmm.
positive reviews. That's
Yeah.
being remarkable. So,
Yeah.
how can you set your business and what are you doing to go above and beyond
Mm-hmm.
to make yourself remarkable so people can like, hey, I really want to work with this person, or I just really like what they're doing, and
Yes.
then but that goes with an authenticity again.
Yeah.
Authenticity, let me get that out
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about being who you are, like in a sense of, okay, what can you do to make yourself remarkable?
Yeah.
So
I'm just
mhm,
thinking back to some experiences I had even as a child that I still remember because of the custom. Just even think about like my orthodontist, for example. I
mhm,
went to my orthodontist. I was in high school, and I wasn't. I was one of their customers, but my mother was the one that was the paying customer. But I was receiving the services, and I can still remember that orthodontist and how the woman at the front desk was. I'll never forget her and how he was. To the extent that decades later, I took my daughter back to that same orthodontist to get her braces done, and I
mhm.
brag on them all the time, even though she's been out of braces probably 10 years. I still talk about them and I would still refer them. I have no
Right,
idea, but actually, the guy may have retired and the guy that took over might be by himself now. I don't even know. But I will still
yeah,
send somebody without questioning to Dr. Perlmutter and Dr. Bradley Goldberg for your
right,
orthodontist because of the experience I had in the 80s. And then fast forward to the experience I had when my daughter was in braces. And so that
right.
probably
I
would
I could
qualify
tell you
for
a
the
funny story about something like that happened to me.
Uh-oh.
Um, were you in like economic class? Remember in high school
Who
we
was the
had that.
teacher?
Man, I can't remember the teacher,
I
but I
had
do
government.
remember.
I had something boring. I didn't have economics. I had government.
Well, they did have a Mr. Bales for Bales Motors, I guess.
Oh, okay.
The actual owner came in and he was talking about like buying a car and all this.
Okay.
And I'll never forget at the end of it, he had a whole bunch of like coins and he just threw them and we all were like going crazy, like, oh, we got money, we got money, we got money.
He
So,
just threw him into the class. It's
yeah, so we were like, oh man. And so it always stuck with me. I'm like, oh shoot. So
yeah.
it's funny, like about a month ago, I got the opportunity to actually go to Jeff High and
Okay.
teach or basically talk about, you know, how to be successful in the industry in terms of how to buy a house for these younger,
That's so good.
students. And I
Yes.
was like, you know what? Let me do something remarkable.
What
So
did
I
you
went
do?
and I got a whole bunch of dollar bills. And I was gonna have like a dollar gun, but I was like, I can't take a gun into school. They'll get me. But but long story short, I did have ones, and then I created this presentation where I did a question and answer. So I was paying people to answer the question if they got it wrong or not. So
Wow.
then after we had that segment, then I basically gave everybody a dollar, and we were talking about kind of either how to save, what you do with this percentage, But then like there were so many, there was the interaction there was just so great. But I told every class that I taught, I said, I was in your seat like how many years ago, and I won't forget what was
Yeah.
said to me, or. So hopefully you take this information and you understand that, regardless of what you hear online about buying a house or doing whatever else,
Mm-hmm.
you can do it. You just have to have the right people. You got to ask the right questions.
That's so
And then
good.
once you get those answers, you can apply it. But it was so refreshing to have that come full circle. I was like, man, I am definitely going to do this. So yeah.
Yes. And I
Yeah.
need to know how you get in on that. I need to go back to Jeff and talk as well. So I need you to hook me up.
Yeah,
Was
we
it
can talk.
French?
We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
talk.
get you.
I would like
I'll
to
get
do
you.
that.
Yeah.
Go in and
Yeah, I'll
talk to
get
the
it set up.
kids. So as we're wrapping up, this has been such a good conversation. I've learned so much about you. I've known you for 30 something years, but I haven't known that much about you. You know, you meet people a long time ago, but you don't stay with them. But when you're thinking about, okay, so we didn't talk much about social marketing. I know you said you like to do video content, and that's a relatively newer part of what you're doing. How has incorporating the social media and all that into your business, has that been an easy transition for you, or was it more like were you one of those grouchy curmudgeons that were like, I don't want to be on Facebook?
Well, I was originally, like, in fact, even getting on Facebook, when I was teaching, there was like a group that I was working with, and it was like, hey, you know, you have to be on it, just because it was kind of like we had a little bet going on some things, not gambling, but just kind of like, hey, you know, one of the things is that I had to post stuff online. I was like, well, I'm not even on it. So I got on that. But I think that
and now you got a little group. I'm like, okay, a little more. That was smart. It's good to have a group. You can't do nothing with a page.
Right. Just to have it, just a group, and just talking about, you know, certain things there. But in terms of kind of like the learning and being able to produce value, is like, it's one of those things where, like, every week I spend time actually learning, you know, the best avenues. I got flown up to Detroit to Rocket, and they had a seminar for wholesale brokers. So I went up there but it was a great seminar, and there was a couple of people talking about social media and how to do it and what to do, and, you know, just so many awesome tips. But then, like, the biggest thing that I got from that is there's so many people that are scared to do it. You know, they're scared to, you know, just be themselves and put things out there. And one of the guests, they said this, and it was so awesome. He said, you know, all the people that you're worried about that are going to talk about you or think that something up, they're not going to help your business anyway. So if you don't do it, they're not helping your business. And it's not even about the business, but you're not going to do what you need to do, because somebody needs to hear what you have to say. You know, you could put something out there that's so motivating and positive, and it could change somebody's life. So don't be scared to look at the camera and actually talk to one person in your mind.
Yes.
And even though there's a lot of other people out there looking at it, but if you if you start like right in, don't even say, hey, this is Tim Handley or nothing like that. Just talk right from the get of whatever you're trying to do, and just pretend that it's just one person. Then you can, it'll totally change your trajectory in terms of kind of what you want to do for your business, or just even as a person in life, because there's so much value in we need it out there. We definitely need a lot of just positivity. You know, I keep saying that, but it's so true.
It's true. There's a lot of negative discourse online. What you just described was having a clear customer avatar. You should be able to picture the face of a person, whether it's somebody you know or a face you made up like AI, but a picture of a person with a whole persona and a description that makes them the person you're talking to. And when you're looking at that camera, that's who you need to be talking to. Not, I wonder if my brother-in-law is going to see it. What are the people from high school going to think? What about that person that's been trolling? It's not who it's for. There's 8 billion people on this planet. No matter what it is that you sell, what it is that you do, somebody needs it. And you just have to put yourself out there so they can find you, because your message is out there. Tim, this has been great.
Yeah, hey, I love you. Hey, I love your work. I love your videos too. Like,
I appreciate that.
You know, I'm like, you know, I know we talked the other day to set this up, but it was like, hey, you know what? Let's go in, because I think there's a lot of people that need to hear it.
They need to hear it. Go Red Devils! Class of 1991. Tim, thank you so much for being with us here on Coffee Break Combos. I'm going to sit you over here. Guys, that was a great conversation. Tim Handley, mortgage advisor. He's with Smith & Brody. If you are in Southern Indiana area, please look him up. Find his page. He has a group on Facebook. Look him up online and let him help you to have a great experience with getting your home, because it's not just about buying the house. It's a whole lot of people that have to help you in that process. There's the realtor, the mortgage person, there's inspectors, and all this stuff. You want to make sure you have the right people on your team. So that's going to do it for me. Let me know in the comments who else or what other types of entrepreneurs you want me to have. We are now at, this was the 5th installment in Coffee Break Combos. Let me know who else you want me to have on, and we will keep this train rolling. Until the next time.